Hey, what's up guys? Coming at you with a brand new discussion video. This was not a scheduled video. This is basically me commenting on the announcement that the popular Bushiroad card game, FutureCard Budyfight, is now dead as a card game after 6 years. They have announced that they will no longer be making new sets and that the final sets will be released on the 25th of September 2020. I believe this is for English. I'm not sure for Japan with that release date. But they have said, yeah, they're not going to make any more Budyfight, and I'm going to talk about what this means, what this could mean for other Bushiroad games from my own personal experience. Obviously, I'm no expert in this kind of stuff, but I have seen a lot of games come and die over all the years I've been playing card games. Please bear with me if I ramble in this video. I am working on regular content, so some Weiss profiles that we're opening up, some boxes of Toon Chaos very, very soon. Very excited for that. We've also got Core Set 2021 and a new Chandra profile for my Commander version of that deck coming out very, very soon. So please, if you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for that other content, the regular content that we have. I know a lot of my friends were really upset about this announcement, so I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on it. As I'm sure you guys may have known, I did have a Budyfight profile up here on the channel for Idolmaster, so I have played the game, and I have seen quite a few Bushiroad games rise and fall over the years of playing Schwarz. So Budyfight, from my experience, was probably the second most popular of Bushiroad's big three games, and with the first, of course, being Vanguard, and the third being Schwarz. This is based on basically BCW and Springfest results that or attendance that I've seen for all three games over the years I've been playing, and I'm not sure how this relates to Japan. Now, surprisingly, Schwarz Japanese in the West, or at least here in Australia, has a much larger player base, or seems to, than the English player base, or particularly that might just be in Melbourne specifically. That being said, Budyfight, I'm not sure how popular it is in Japan, but you need to remember that Budyfight has to compete with really, really popular games. You know, yes, they have Yu-Gi-Oh! Yes, they have Magic. Yes, they potentially have Dragon Ball Super, and I know they have Pokemon, but you know, they've got other card games like Weak Sauce, Precious Memories, they've got ZX. There's so many games that a lot of Western card game players haven't even heard of that just are probably way more that I know for a fact were more popular than Budyfight. It's, you know, when they say in the statement that they just couldn't, after monitoring the entire TCG market, they just couldn't, you know, make it viable. And I guess that's fine, because we've seen a lot of Bushiroad games rise and fall. Obviously, we've seen Chaos, we saw Victory Spark, we saw Five Cross, and these three games never came to English. They were exclusively Japanese games, and they died before they could even be brought to English. I guess there was no market for them, or they really just wanted to focus on Weiss being the premier English anime card game. And I think that's one of the reasons why Weiss has actually survived for as long as it has, because it is such a niche game, but it offers something that no other card game accessible in the West is able to offer. Budyfight seems like a weird amalgamation of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Vanguard. And while I was playing the game, I found myself just wanting to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or just wanting to play Vanguard. And I don't particularly like Vanguard as a game either, but I honestly think it's a much better handled, mechanic-wise, power creep-wise, artwork-wise, and design-wise. It just feels like a more fluid game. It feels less power creepy. It feels like... The problem Vanguard is not a one-turn game or a two-turn game. And I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be a two-turn game, but you can have long games of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it can be perfectly fine, and you can have lots of fun. But Budyfight, I think the average game of Budyfight was 2 turns. And you would have your turn, and then your opponent would just kill you on their first turn. And yes, this happens in Yu-Gi-Oh! But and that's the situation. It's if I'm going to play an OTK game, I'm just going to go play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because the artwork looks better, the cards are better. The mechanics of the game are better. I have more options with deck building, because Vanguard Budyfight limited you so much. Yes, you had, I guess that's good in the sense of it doesn't become like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you can just splash every card under the sun. But then you have issues where, like, especially when the collab sets came in, you have cards that you just don't have access to, or cards that they lock away behind shop PRs that if you're a new player, you can't get. Whereas Yu-Gi-Oh! Eventually, I say eventually, Konami makes every card available to every player in some way. Eventually. And I don't know how this happens with Budyfight, but it was a little bit frustrating. And I often found myself getting so frustrated because the deck that I wanted to play was not the best deck of the set I wanted to play. So therefore, I was at a huge disadvantage against every single other deck that I would play against, because of the whole culture of the game where it was played, was that you had to play the best deck available to you or you would not have fun. And I don't like... And yes, I've played competitive games before. You know, you play Yu-Gi-Oh! To win. You play card games to win, yes. But I like to win playing the cards that I like. And that's one of the things I really like about Weiss, is that Weiss promotes the idea of winning with your favorite anime characters. And that's something you'll see on this profile, you know, on this channel, is that most of the profiles I have here on this channel for Weiss Schwarz are either mono character decks or duo character decks that do not feature, they're not the most optimal build for the set, but because the way the game is designed, you can still win the game. Like, it's just, I know a lot of people who play Vanguard, a lot of people who play Budyfight, they do not like Weiss Schwarz because it is not a competitive game. Weiss does have competitive aspects to it, but like I said, Budyfight just feels like an amalgamation of other card games that do what it is trying to do better. And I know people love Budyfight and they're going to get so annoyed at me for saying that, but I've played a lot of card games. And honestly, of every card game that I have played that survived up until this point, excluding other games, like, Budyfight was probably one of the least enjoyable card games that I had played. And maybe that's just because I'm not a super competitive person when it comes to card games, but I would much rather play Vanguard. Like, I loved Chaos. Chaos was super competitive as a game. It was power creeped to high hell. You had to keep buying the next set in order to play the game. That didn't matter because it still had an element of pick your favorite card to help you win the game. You could still win the game with any deck. It had the luck element to it, which is one of the things that made it more interesting. Whereas Budyfight was play the best deck, or you will not win the game. And yes, I may be completely wrong about that. Once again, this is my own personal experience. Now that we've gone over all that, I want to quickly mention what think the death of Budyfight may mean for other Bushiroad games. Now, of course, towards, I think, last year, they added the crossover sets to Budyfight. So it was Case Closed. So Detective Conan was the first one, which was a really weird choice, being an English exclusive set. I think it was English exclusive. I could be completely wrong. I can't remember. Then you had Idolmaster. So then you had Bang Dream. Then you had Idolmaster. Then it was Gridman. Then it was SAO. And I think that was the end. As far as I'm aware, as of this date, SAO and Gridman have not yet been released in English, but products that were released after them in Japan are out in English. So this, of course, means that once SAO, if SAO even comes to English, because I was looking at potentially making a Silica deck, proxying a Silica deck to play with friends, is completely unplayable. Like, you would just, because of the whole aspect of build the strongest deck possible to you, that came out, or if your deck is like now 2 months old, or your set is 2 months old, it's unplayable. We initially thought this was going to be the Hail Mary for Weiss Schwarz if Weiss was going to die. Then I of course remembered back to when I went to Japan. I saw a lot more people playing Weiss Schwarz than I saw playing Budyfight. Maybe it's because Budyfight was a lot newer then than Weiss was, but still, I guess, well, here we are. Weiss exists. For how much longer? I don't know. We're getting a lot of Weiss releases, so obviously Bushiroad is making a lot of money on Weiss, so they're probably going to keep supporting it. What's also interesting is I think it was like a month ago, I was told that Bang Dream was coming to it was going to Vanguard. Now this was interesting. This of course was not the first time that they had an anime/game collab in Vanguard. Of course they had Token Rambu, but it was weird that rather than getting a second set for Budyfight, they just move it to Vanguard. And of course, this was probably to capitalize on all like the Weiss players jumping from Weiss to Budyfight. Now they're going to jump to Vanguard. And I know for a fact, I know people who will buy. I know they play Vanguard already, but if they didn't, they would be buying into Vanguard for Bang Dream. They did it. They bought into Budyfight for Bang Dream. And I mean, I can't talk. I bought into Budyfight for Idolmaster, right? And if they add Idolmaster to Vanguard, yes, probably I will buy into it as well. It works. The strategy works. But I guess it coming to Vanguard was kind of a clear sign that this was going to happen. I know a lot of people aren't happy that there's now anime or there's collabs in Vanguard. It's weird, I know. Especially as Vanguard is heavily based on an anime, much like Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like if they added Dragon Ball Z to Yu-Gi-Oh! It would just be completely out of place, right? Whereas in Weiss, it makes perfect sense because of the whole mechanic of the game. So honestly, I think that Vanguard is a safe card game. It is, as long as the anime is being watched, as long as the card game is being played, as long as either one of these is happening, that will be safe. Weiss Schwarz, I also think it's safe. I think it's safe because, at least, for the next couple of years, we're getting so many product releases. We're getting more product releases for Weiss Schwarz in these last few years than there were when I started playing the game. At least that I remember. Weiss is the only anime collab game, like card game, that has an English release. Like, yes, you have Precious Memories in Japan. That's huge. And I'm sure there's other ones out there as well. But, because Precious Memories is getting Nekopara, right? So, I know people who want to buy in that just to get Nekopara cards. Weiss is the only one that's in English. And people who will play this game because it's anime. That is the main draw of the game. Budyfight's main draw was that it was just a card game that had an anime that went along with it. It was like it was literally another Yu-Gi-Oh! Another Vanguard. And at that point, how many of these games can you make that you keep making financially viable? Because at the end of the day, it's weird to play all the games. You can't play every card game under the sun. And at the end of the day, and they can't support every card game under the sun. At the end of the day, like they have to make a choice. And yes, I know it's sad for Budyfight players, and eventually this is going to happen for Weiss Schwarz. One day Weiss Schwarz will die. One day Vanguard might die. Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, one day Magic will die. It is inevitable that one day in the foreseeable future of mankind, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic will die. Will it die in our lifetime? I don't know. Will Vanguard die in our lifetime? I'm going to say yes. Yes. Vanguard will, the hype for Vanguard will eventually die. Weiss Schwarz will probably die before Vanguard, unless they find some crazy reason to make Weiss more viable. Don't quote me on this, because we're probably a long way down the track for Vanguard and Weiss to die. Anyway, this video's gone on a lot longer than I would have liked. Of course, we're unediting this, just doing this raw. Thank you guys so much for watching this, letting me ramble. Let me know your comments on all this stuff in below. Obviously, don't destroy me. I'm not a huge Budyfight expert. I'm just going on my own personal anecdotal experiences and comments I've got from friends of mine who played the game. I know people who spent a lot of money on this game and are absolutely devastated it's gone. And I do feel for them because I wanted to full on invest in Chaos. I'm glad I didn't. I bought like 2 boxes and proxied the rest of it. But that being said, just because Budyfight isn't getting support doesn't mean you guys can't still play it. You can still play it for fun. And I guess another downside of Budyfight is there's no card creator app. And I'm sure in the lieu of this, someone in the community will make a card creator app. Like we have one for Weiss. Someone did it for Weiss. There's Magic ones. There's Yu-Gi-Oh! Ones. People will make their own custom cards for this. And now that there's no rules for it, you can do whatever you want. I know that, you know, the original Dragon Ball games died and then people combined them all into one format. So Buddy Fight will live on in some way in a casual format. And of course, if you wanted to buy the missing cards for your collection, I guess now's a great time, right? Because everything is cheap. The problem you'll have is that eventually things will be impossible to find, and it'll be really awkward, and you'll probably just sitting there with a bunch of bulk. Well, at least I only have one set's worth of bulk. But just use it, you know? Maybe someone will make this a weird, like, commander format for it. I don't know. But anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on all this? Let me know in the comments below. Stay tuned for that new content I do have coming up later on in the next couple of weeks. It should be pretty cool. Stay tuned, of course, next month, hopefully. If the Dell playset does arrive, I'm going to be doing so many profiles for that set. I have a playset. I ordered a playset. I cannot wait to start playing with that set. Waited 5 years for it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.